My name is Savannah Sanchez. I joined the military because I didn't come from a very stable upbringing. I was getting into a lot of trouble. I didn't do well in school. I was raised by a single mother, and addiction was something that was really prevalent in my family. And after one of those incidents of getting in trouble, I was literally scrolling on Instagram, and a girl I knew from high school had just graduated Marine Corps boot camp. And I immediately hit her up and was like, tell me more about this. And she gave me a recruiter's number, and I did the work for him. I told him I immediately wanted to go, and that was that. People who don't come from stable homes, don't come from economically advantaged upbringings, tend to find themselves not able to afford college, not in the same positions to get into careers that would set them up for success. And so a lot of people find the military to be the only option to get out of that. I was military police while in the Marine Corps. Military bases are essentially little towns. So I was one of the military police officers who responds to calls on the military base in Cherry Point, North Carolina. The point of Marine Corps boot camp is to strip you of your individuality, and the whole first portion of it is breaking you down, and then the second and third part are to build you back up as Marines. Very quickly, I started to question things. As a woman, our leaders, our drill instructors really enforced this idea in us that like the men will not have your backs. It's you and your sisters, and that's it. So it was very much this us versus them mentality coming out of boot camp just with ourselves, you know? And on the male side of it, they're also being taught from their drill instructors the opposite of like, they're gonna accuse you of you sexually assaulting them. So be careful with them. So there was this already like this fear of one another. What made me question about the Marine Corps' role as a whole and globally was in Marine Corps combat training, which is the first required training after boot camp that every Marine is required to go to. It's a month-long training in the field, but there's classroom time. And in that classroom time, our instructors would begin by showing us YouTube videos, and they start off showing you this pretty like well-known clip of a soldier in Iraq who gets killed in the street. It shows the next soldier going to him, trying to grab him out, and then he gets shot. And then it has a third soldier who comes and tries to grab him, and he gets shot. And it's supposed to be this lesson of don't go out when you're not in cover, but also this is what's gonna happen to you. And it has this like somber music over it. So they get you in that could happen to me, and this is the reality of combat. And then they show the next clip, and it's drone footage of American troops bombing villages, civilians, insurgents alike, you know, and it has like heavy metal overlays. I remember watching like a room of like 300 Marines just clamoring and cheering for these bombs getting dropped. And it was like this outer body experience to me of like, holy crap, what did I get myself into? And if I had a phone right now and I recorded this and I showed this, we would look like horrible, horrible people. If I said anything about that, it would have just been a total demeaning of, you can't make it in the Marine Corps, you shouldn't be here. Seeing George Floyd getting murdered and seeing the knee on his neck and knowing that that was something we were trained was never allowed to happen. And to see local law enforcement doing that against citizens really altered my like perception of, are they really here to protect and serve, you know? The police response and the activation of the National Guard against my friends and family who were back home taking to the streets. I did have this idea that the military was supposed to protect the American citizen. Then watching BLM and watching the military being used against the American citizen, that just went out the window, you know? Also, the murder of Vanessa Guillen. She was a soldier in Texas who was murdered by her sergeant. For women in the military at that time, this was huge for us because it felt like one of our own who was getting left behind, not cared about, nobody was looking for her, and nobody cared. And the hashtag I am Vanessa Guillen went all across social media, and military members spoke out about the sexual harassment that they were experiencing. And at that time, I was also being sexually harassed by my captain at the time. And the response from the leaders and higher ups wasn't what it should have been. They can't even take care of the people in here. How are we supposed to be in other countries taking care of other people, you know? Because like that's the whole thing of us being in Afghanistan, is we were taking care of Afghan civilians to protect them from the Taliban. I majored in psychology and minored in sociology, and I took like social inequality classes, and I learned about Naomi Klein's The Shock Doctrine. That was when finally like everything started to make sense to me, of like, oh, these are literal tactics that we've honed in other places in South America, and then we're using them literally like in different places for regime change and all these different things. Then they privatize and they extract. And how Afghanistan, it was about, we're gonna be rebuilding Afghanistan, but it was just millions of dollars are just getting funneled into private contractors, and the average Afghan civilian isn't seeing that, you know? And it's the same systems here. And I see capitalism as that complete problem where it's always money, 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 not the people. So getting out the military, I was ashamed to say that I was in the military. People asked me about it. I wouldn't talk about it. I didn't want to be around other veterans because it was usually like this very conservative pool of people that I didn't agree with. But it wasn't until About Face that I realized like, oh, there's this whole other community of veterans who are kind and caring and loving and want to do right by the average American citizen and the global citizen at that. Meeting these people has been so healing for me to, one, deal with like my own guilt of being a part of a system that oppressed so many people around the entire world.
Do you feel like speaking out is putting like a target on your back at all? And like, why do you do it anyways?
Yeah, I think speaking out puts a target on my back, but so be it. That's a very little price to pay for speaking out. It could be far worse. It's far worse for a lot of other people, and it's the least I can do, especially as somebody who participated in the military. You get a job in the Marine Corps, and then sometimes they don't even translate to the civilian world, and you come out unemployable, or you come out with like this trauma that you didn't expect yourself to deal with while you're in, whether that's like sexual trauma or some other physical abuse or mental abuse, whatever. Like, you're coming out and now you're forever altered. If we understood our power as a person and then also as a soldier, Marine, a sailor, everything would stop. If we understood and we stopped participating in these atrocities and turned it to good even, and like started building better systems for people that they actually want. If we put that effort elsewhere, man, like that would just be world changing. I really do think. It couldn't happen without the military personnel who are literally taking part in the occupation, who are holding the guns, who are killing people. It would not happen unless they decided for it to happen. So them deciding to stop it, I think it would be earth-shattering in all the best ways.